applaud or raise your hand or just be ecstatic as we are to have you here today. I am going to ask our technical, we're waiting to welcome everyone on board to play video and then we shall start again with the event. Thank you very much.
At the Cigar Family Foundation, we believe in a world where development is steered by grassroots leaders and power is shifted into the hands of communities. We work across sub-Saharan Africa and strive to be true partners to our grantees. We want to change the power dynamics, characteristics of traditional philanthropy, and prove that a new, more equitable, more responsive approach is not only more fair, but also more effective. Our Social Impact Incubator program, SII, was launched in 2013 after we observed a highly fragmented civil society in small countries such as Burundi and Malawi, where local NGOs and social enterprises were suffering from lack of donor attention, excluded local leadership, and little collaboration. In Rwanda, the program was launched in 2019, and it builds on the momentum of success we observed in other countries.
And then how do we do it? The Social Impact Incubator serves as a catalyst, creating an environment for social innovators to amplify and grow their impact. It is truly constructed to transform organizations and social enterprises at 3 levels. It looks at individual growth, organizational excellence, and thrives to influence the ecosystem at large. Here in Rwanda, since May this year, our social innovators, champions as we call them, they have had the opportunity to learn through tailored and interactive modules. They have dissected their organizational challenges together with a team of coaches, have been provided with networking avenues to connect with other relevant stakeholders in the ecosystem. That was through showcase events and cocktail hours. And lastly, they have had the chance to receive an extra boost through winning awards in the form of grand prizes, non-financial resources, and consultancy services.
I would say being part of the Social Impact Incubator has really had a catalyzing effect for Generation Rise, because we have gotten support to improve our public communications, to also develop our model more deeply, and also to identify and I would say capitalizing on opportunities to really articulate our impact.
At the Creativity Lab, we strive to bring to life what students learn in school. We motivate them to love learning and be interested in STEM subjects. We prepare and equip them with necessary skills to become future innovators, engineers, and computer scientists.
Rwanda Biosolution Limited, we provide local smallholder farmers organic fertilizer made through effective microorganism technology. This organic fertilizer, it is made through a local material, including the crop residue and the household waste. And we provide this organic fertilizer. It is cheap and it is also more efficient for the farmers to boost the crop harvest.
And SII really helped us structure our operations, structure our finances, structure the way we track our impact about what we're doing, and being able to structure it better in a way we can partner with other stakeholders around who are working in the same field.
And I say we're not where we used to be, but we're not where we're supposed to be as well. And that is a factor of many things. One, our demographics. 60% of our population is, I think, reported to be under 40, if not under 30. And that presents an opportunity with the Cigar Family Foundation is doing, reaching out to where private players, private companies, financial returns seekers would not go in the impact space, in the social enterprise space, NGO space. I think with an organized ecosystem, which we're trying to put up, it will help direct and give us the results that really our country deserves.
SCI has been a catalyst,
an engine of growth,
strategy booster,
impactful,
An eye-opener.
I'd like to note that was the video of our 2019 champions, and we will also can also. Again, we're thrilled to have you all join us today as we welcome our 14 amazing social innovators, and we explore deeply our theme for the event today, which is innovation support and ecosystem building and making these two ends meet. So today we have with us the Cigar Family Foundation team joining us from New Jersey, together with our team joining us from Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Malawi. We would also give a special welcome to our Executive Director of the Cigar Family Foundation, all the way from New Jersey, Mr. Andy Bryant. We also have with us today the friends of the Cigar Family Foundation here, our ecosystem players and actors. We recognize the presence of, from Jasiri, Aline Kavanda, from Business Professionals Network Rwanda, BPN Rwanda, represented by the country director, Alice Murikinga, from GIZ through its Make IT Africa initiative, Miss Annette Batamuriza, from the ICT Chamber of at the Private Sector Federation, Mr. Alex Nare. We also have with us from Impact Hub Kigali, Keres Manzi, and all of you that have responded to our invitation and graced us with your presence tonight. Last but not least, we have our stars of today, our dearest family of community champions. A warm welcome to the 2019 champions. Woohoo! And a round of applause, obviously using the Zoom applause emoji, of course, to our 2021 SII-Rwanda cohort for your bravery and your altruism in your respective communities. We welcome you today. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome my dear colleague, the wonderful Liana Nzawamema, for her welcoming remarks. Liana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eva, and it is so exciting to see the numbers growing and increasing of people joining this event today. Thank you so much for being with us. So many familiar faces, Sandrine, Sotin from Malawi, and so many others. So thank you for being with us today. So good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're calling from. I'm here today with my colleagues, partners, and allies in our sector to launch our second cohort at the Social Impact Incubator. First thing first, please accept greetings from the Cigar family and team. Like many of you, the past year has been challenging for us, living, navigating, and operating in uncertain times with no guarantee that tomorrow will be better. But we made it to where we are today, and we are ready to move forward with this exciting new journey. 2 years ago, the Cigar Family Foundation made a commitment to be the partner of choice of Rwandan innovators, creative and visionary social entrepreneurs. We learned so much from our inaugural cohort, so well represented today, composed of outstanding young leaders who are creating new ways of doing business, pushing us to think beyond ourselves and contributing to systemic changes in the development arena. As it is in SFF DNA to collaborate and co-create with other like-minded actors, last year we had an opportunity to start a great partnership with business professional networks under Mrs. Alice Molikinga's leadership. And together, we were able to provide targeted support to 9 social enterprises operating across diverse sectors, including supporting farmers in practicing regenerative agriculture, or increasing access to quality education through the use of technology, especially during the pandemic, to name a few. So today we're thrilled to announce to you that the small program that only served Rwanda has grown to also serve entrepreneurs in Burundi and DRC. Our program here will serve as a Great Lakes hub, providing capital, capacity, and community to entrepreneurs across the region. We are well aware of the current difficulties presented by the pandemic. This has meant that we needed to not only get extra creative in delivery methods and experimenting the pandemic, it was hard to predict what was going to happen in Africa. This meant that there is more to be done in collecting data that is more nuanced. And this year, learning from the success of our Southern Africa hub, which has been using Pando, a network mapping tool for a number of years now, was an inspiration for us. During the pandemic, Pando was used to locate entrepreneurs on the map in real time, where they are, help them know about resource hubs who could support them, and help them address not only the pandemic, but also gaps that often were overlooked, such as efficient ways to provide quality healthcare to populations living far away from health facilities, or ways to maintain and aggregate food production, improving then logistics and supply chains, or how proximate entrepreneurs could team up to fill the gap in providing alternative education to thousands of children. And today we're excited to launch Pando in Rwanda, where we see it adding more value to the already vibrant innovation ecosystem. We will have an opportunity to share more insights about the tool and hear from people who experienced it firsthand on this call. This year, we are proud to partner with this new cohort of amazing entrepreneurs from Rwanda, Burundi, and DRC, who will be supported by our in-house experts to refine and scale the most effective, locally appropriate solutions to improve the well-being of communities in the Great Lakes region. We'll also continue building relationships and partner with progressive funders, ecosystem actors, and impact investors to break entry barriers and create agile tools and systems to deploy capital and drive it towards more social innovators who are all these champions and many more you are all supporting in your unique ways. As we embark on this fresh and ambitious journey, I hope you will all stand with us. As they say, it takes a village to do it right. So enough of me. I will pass the floor over to Yvan again, our moderator of the day, who will take us through the next exciting session, where we'll hear more about the incredible work of our champions. Thank you all. Over to you, Yvan.
Thank you so much, Liana, for such inspiring words. And we would like to now go on to the next section, which is introducing the champions for the second cohort, which was cohort 2021. And as mentioned earlier, what makes our work so enjoyable is that we interact and journey together with amazing leaders who not only care for their communities they come from, but also truly embody the beyond self spirit. I am thrilled to welcome our agripreneurs tackling problems around food security and ensuring smallholders have a stable market for their producers, all powered by technology. We have on the left Cigar from Park and Peak and Norman Mugisha from Afri Farmers Market. Welcome.
Thank you.
We would like to also welcome our champions fighting for girls' and women's rights. First, to earn a stable income, but also to use education as a tool and a weapon to unlock a successful path. We have Mr. Guillaume Rwanda from Organisation Santé Plus on the left, and Ms. Donata Gihana on the right from Rwanda Esther's Initiative. Looking at eradicating stigma, a culture of taboo, access to the right information around sexual and reproductive health, we have Blondine Umuziranenge from the far right, founder of Cosmotive. We have Mig Ndaishimiye in the middle, as well as Marie-Ange Raissa from Emmanuel Girls Initiative. These are driving initiatives that will not only leave the communities more robust, but surely sustainable for future generations. From the left to the right, we have Joris Ngabire from Safe Inclusion in Burundi. We have Denise Umoza from Agati Library in Musanze in Rwanda, as well as Josue Niyomugenga from Afri. Welcome, and please wave emoji style. From left to right, we have Frida Kamikaze, who's supporting refugees' rights with Amashami Initiative, as well as Lori Yaga, who is reframing how therapy and mental health support is perceived here in Rwanda. Last but absolutely not the least, we have Fatuma Ingabire on the left, working on leadership development and the workforce of the future with Unlock Impact, as well as Adrian Ndaishimiye with Digital and Mechanical Company, who's using technology to empower the visually impaired persons living with disabilities at large. Now, you have heard from me as I introduce these fantastic impact makers. Let's hear from them and the ecosystem actors through this video. Our technical host is going to support us as we launch the second cohort of the project.
At the Cigar Family Foundation, we believe in a world where development is steered by grassroots leaders and power is shifted into the hands of communities. We work across sub-Saharan Africa and strive to be true partners to our grantees. We want to change the power dynamics, characteristics of traditional philanthropy, and prove that a new, more equitable, more responsive approach is not only more fair, but also more effective. Our Social Impact Incubator program, SII, was launched in 2013 after we observed the highly fragmented civil society in small countries such as Burundi and Malawi, where local NGOs and social enterprises were suffering from lack of donor attention, excluded local leadership, and little collaboration. In Rwanda, the program was launched in 2019, and it builds on the momentum of success we observed in other countries.
For the last 2 years, the Social Impact Incubator has truly served as a catalyst, looking at supporting social innovation on one hand, but also creating a thriving ecosystem around our social innovators.
My name is Norman, and I'm the founder of Afri Farmers Market, which is a social enterprise that works with farmers, helping farmers to overcome poverty. We started in 2019, but 2019 we were doing the prototype, see how, first of all, working with farmers, giving them the skills on how they can practice sustainable agriculture. And then we realized that actually after harvesting, they have a challenge of putting the harvest on the market.
My name is Lore Iaga, and I'm the co-founder of SII Initiative.
My name is Ala Sabineza. I'm the co-founder of SII Initiative.
SII is a social enterprise whose mission is to break the stigma, raise awareness around mental health issues, and reframe how therapy is perceived in our community.
We exist because there was lack of information about maternal and child health. So that's why in 2014 I started Cosmos magazine to increase access to this information about maternal and child health and all about parenting.
We have had the chance of working with 13 champions in 2019, and through our tailor-made support, we provided them with capacity, capital, but also we're very much dedicated in building a community around them. This is why this year we're welcoming again to our family of community champions 14 social innovators from across sectors, from health to education to supporting refugees and so on.
Rwanda SII's initiative is a young community-based organization located in Bugesera district, and it's mainly focusing on supporting rural adults and girls' education to reduce barriers that are associated or may hinder them from transitioning to other levels of education. We do this through mentorship, scholarship opportunities for girls, and community engagement.
So, apart from giving them the sustainable skills on how to practice sustainable agriculture or better practices for agriculture, we also help them connect with the market. And we are using our e-commerce platform so we buy from directly after the harvest, we buy from their farms, then bring it here in our store. We have another store, we keep like things that are like dry that can last for a long period of time. Then like these fresh vegetables, then we supply them to markets and the other vendors in the other markets, and also people who want to order from home.
Our main focus is the youth, but the greatest focus that we have is for the future generation, because when you have a country like ours that has gone through what it has gone through, such as things like the genocide against the Tutsis and a fast-paced economic growth, you have a combination of traumas that are due to the genocide, but also stresses and depressions and all kinds of mental health issues that are due to the fast-paced economic growth.
Moreover, we have also looked at the ecosystem and all the other actors within the Rwandan entrepreneurial ecosystem to look who else can we join hands to better support our champions, to also look at the bigger picture, which is activating impact on community level.
Year 2020, we've entered a partnership with Business Professionals Network Rwanda to support our social enterprises.
We are thrilled to be partner with Cigar Family Foundation. Our partnership started during the pandemic, where we were approached to provide support to the first cohort of social enterprises. Our approach, normally the BPN approach, focuses mainly on making businesses financially sustainable, financially viable. And we do that using a value-based approach, where we motivate entrepreneurs to build on values such as integrity, long-term thinking, taking care of your staff, caring for the society as a whole, so that you create a business that's not only good for yourself, but a business that is good for the community in which you strive.
The impact has been really huge to the farmers, because I do believe that farmers can only get income after selling their harvest. Now we have more than 2,000 farmers who have benefited from this selling their produce directed to consumers.
At the moment, the biggest part of our needs is learning to run a business, a social business, a social enterprise, to know the ins and outs of the business side in order to provide the maximum impact we can to the work that we're doing.
We expect to move out of the program or end the program with knowledge, with networks built by other similar organizations, but also networking which won't stop definitely during the program. We're looking forward to a very sustainable partnership with the Social Impact Incubator program.
Fantastic video, and we're so thrilled to have these amazing innovators together with us. We have seen through this video how innovation support is very important to us, and how we indeed do not operate in a vacuum, but within a vibrant ecosystem. I will invite my colleague Liana to give us our tea for the day as she talks about how we make it all happen in this ecosystem. Liana, the floor is yours again.
Sure. So this takes us to the second part of the session, which is quite exciting, as we're talking about how can we, and this is a conversation that, we're not just having today, but this is, a discussion that we have with so many people already on this call. I think Ivan mentioned them, ecosystem players who are supporting entrepreneurs and other social innovators in their own unique ways and still adding value to the work that they're doing. And we're always in the look for how can we best support them, how can we best collaborate. And so one of the tools that we wanted to talk about today and introduce in Rwanda today is Pando, which is an interactive ecosystem mapping tool, which shows what's happening in the given network and so in real time. It is a shared resource that can be used by all ecosystem players to learn about the platforms, networks, accelerators, incubators, and other institutions which provide services and resources to entrepreneurs and other social innovators. Pando makes it possible to visualize, learn from, and engage with other ecosystem players and where the ecosystem itself. It helps organizations improve their impact by harnessing the power of network maps and feedback surveys to reveal system dynamics, key players, relationship quality, and local perception. Basically, it provides a clear picture of who is interacting with who in the ecosystem. Where do innovators or entrepreneurs go for to seek for different services and support? Who are the players in the ecosystem and how are they interconnected? How are they collaborating? Who leads? Who convenes? Etc. So it shows not only where entrepreneurs are, but also what sectors they are in, what they are talking, who they are talking to, or connected with, whether it's government or financial institutions or impact investors, etc. But it also shows the new centers of gravity, emerging sectors, and so on. So I'd like us to shift from abstracts and definitions and move the conversation around what it really looks like in practice. So SFF partnered with Root Change, a nonprofit based in Washington, DC, to deploy Pando in Malawi in 2019, and this year in Rwanda. Root Change designs programs, technologies, and interactive experiences that help people, organizations, and communities build better futures for themselves. For the past 10 years, they have been working with partners like the Cigar Family Foundation to use social network analysis, constituent voice, experimentation, and more to strengthen different ecosystems. With no further ado, I'm inviting Alexis Banks from Root Change to take us briefly through the interactive map itself so that we get a clear picture of what that looks like in practice. Alexis, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Liana. And wow, I'm so humbled to be here among some really incredible entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this amazing work that you're doing in Rwanda. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Liana, are you able to see Pando on my screen?
Not yet. Yes, now yes.
Now yes. Okay, great. So in just a few minutes, I think you'll get a chance to hear from Maria from the Cigar Family Foundation team in Malawi about their experience using Pando. And so what I want to do is first introduce the tool using the map that's been created with the Social Impact Incubator in Malawi. Here's a quick look at a relationship map on the Pando platform. Each of these nodes or dots is an individual organization in this ecosystem. So it might be a social entrepreneur like MHub, or it might be a resource like the Social Impact Incubator, another funder. It might be others within the SII cohort. So each of these dots are individual organizations within the impact ecosystem in Malawi. And these lines between them are relationships that exist among those entrepreneurs or those service providers like funders, for example. So we can see here that this line that I'm hovering over is a relationship between an organization called, it looks like FOCAD, and another organization called Life Concern, and they're working together on the topic of health. And we can see that reflected in this black profile box in the upper left-hand corner. Let's take a look at another relationship. We can also see relationships here between FACT and Ladder to Learning. They're working together on the area of youth, and you can see that they're interacting often. So they're frequently interacting with one another. And so this map allows us to create a visual representation of all of the relationships that exist within the impact ecosystem in Malawi. And we're looking to do the same in Rwanda, to understand who are the ecosystem actors, how are they working together, and are there ways that the Siegel Family Foundation or SII can be supporting those actors to build stronger connections, to work together more effectively. Taking a look at some of the other things that this map can do, we can actually filter the relationships by theme, or what we call collaboration areas. So if you were an actor in this ecosystem and you wanted to understand who are others going to for information related to capacity strengthening, perhaps you would like to explore opportunities for strengthening the capacity of your social enterprise. You can filter the map to see the organizations and relationships around this particular theme. So you can see here on the right-hand side in this metric table, the organizations that have been identified because of their work related to capacity strengthening. Or if you wanted to see who are the funders and investors in this ecosystem, who are others going to for funding and investment? You could click on the funding and investment collaboration area to filter the map by those relationships. Or lastly, if you wanted to focus on a specific thematic area, perhaps you do work in health, as I think we heard some of our entrepreneurs are working in health. You could filter the map to see what are the relationships related to health, in this case in Malawi. What other organizations are doing this work? And this might enable you to connect with organizations that you didn't even know existed within this ecosystem. Or see who could connect you to existing health entrepreneurs, for example, or health service providers if you'd like to collaborate and explore best practices together. I also just want to share that this map can be filtered by location or area of expertise. So if you want to see who in this ecosystem is in the same region as you, that might be another way that you would use this map. We also have the ability to take a look at who are the actors that have been most frequently nominated by others as a resource. And we can size the nodes or essentially pull out who are the key resources in this ecosystem. And you can see that reflected in the table over here on the right-hand side that hopefully has been changing on your screen as I've been clicking through the map. And you might be wondering, how do we get this information? Where does it come from? And so I just wanted to briefly share how we collect this information about relationships, how we get a sense of who's in an ecosystem. So we have invited all of the entrepreneurs in the SII cohorts in Malawi to map their relationships using what we call our relationship manager. And we ask them to indicate, who do you go to for information, ideas, or support related to each of those collaboration areas. So for example, if I wanted to indicate that I go to Yvonne's foundation for information about education, I would input the organization name and select how we work together or that collaboration area from this drop-down menu. And I'm also going to indicate how often we're interacting. And if I'd like, I could actually invite Yvonne to the map, to invite him in to come and input his relationships as well, which allows the map to continue to grow over time. So we can see more and more relationships, create a more realistic visual representation of the ecosystem in the country. In addition, we invite organizations to input their organization details into a profile. So you can see here Root Change's profile for the Malawi social impact map. You can see where we work, the type of organization that we are, and our expertise that we offer to this ecosystem. So if someone wanted to contact us, we can indicate we'd like to share our contact details, and they can reach out to us directly via email if they want to form a connection, explore opportunities for collaboration, or learn from us about our experience in this ecosystem. I'm going to stop there, but would be happy to answer any questions or elaborate, Liana or Yvonne, if there's anything you'd like me to add.
Sure, thank you, AB. We'll definitely have time for questions, to open it up for the audience to ask any questions, because I feel like it's a lot to take in at the moment. And this is not just a now conversation, but something that we'll definitely continue to do follow up with everyone who is present today on this call. So yeah, as we said, and as Alexis mentioned, this was already implemented in Malawi. Pando was already deployed in Malawi since 2019, and there is so much that we've learned from them, and that we also wanted to share today through Maria, whom I'm inviting to come next. She is one of our in-house experts. Maria wears many hats in life, including being the SI Senior Advisor for the past 5 years. She's based in Malawi and has been closely and actively involved in using Pando within their ecosystem. She will share with us what the experience has been and some of the key lessons they drew from using Pando. And hopefully we're gonna start thinking about, how are we gonna use it in Rwanda, what value is it gonna be adding to the ecosystem here, and so on. Maria, over to you.
Thank you, Liana, and thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to see so many people coming on board. I think this is really exciting for launching Pando, because I think that we're going to have quite a big community and a very diverse ecosystem to get to know and understand as we launch the tool and work with the tool over time. So initially, when we launched the tool in Malawi, one of the things we wanted to achieve at the Social Impact Incubator is to really understand how we could promote more collaborative and impactful relationships and connections to the social innovators in our ecosystem. We also wanted to really understand the ecosystem more broadly beyond just the people who were the organizations that were coming into our cohort and the people that we had intimate contact with, but to really understand the value chains within which they are operating, whether they were operating in health, whether they were in education, in other sectors. How are they delivering the value? Who else is involved in those value chains? And how could we provide support in building networks that would overall amplify the impact that is being made in communities that are serviced by the ecosystem as a whole? So it's been quite a journey. I think that initially we were really excited more about the tool, less about the lessons. But I think that as we got a grip of the tool, we really got to understand how powerful it was and what are some of the things that we started to be able to pull data, to analyze and to learn from what we were seeing as the relationships were being mapped. We were seeing the different collaboration areas and so forth. So it has really helped us in a number of ways. So I'm going to share just a couple of lessons quickly that we've learned as we've implemented the Pando map in Malawi. I think the first and most important one was understanding the ecosystem better. Because of having visibility of sectors and of the ecosystem beyond the individual organizations that we interact with and that we service, it really gave us a good insight as to where we could best place resources to support active development of the network in ways that would increase impact. It also helped us to have visibility of who were the core actors in the ecosystem, where are the resource hubs within the ecosystem, and to think about how we can enhance and support and amplify those resource hubs so that they serve the wider ecosystem. From that was also looking at what are the connections between key power stakeholders to social innovators in the ecosystem. And I know that here we have quite a diverse group of people attending this launch. We have doers and we also have investors and funders. And so what we wanted to see is what are the relationships and to some extent the power dynamics that inform those relationships between those that are key power stakeholders in the ecosystem and those that are implementers and innovators working in community to deliver the impact. And it allowed us to appreciate the role of key stakeholders and to be able to identify which key stakeholders we wanted to further develop relationships with and further support in having access to the ecosystem and a better connection with the different actors in the ecosystem. So I think that's the one major benefit we've gotten out of Pando, is understanding the ecosystem better, which allows us to direct our efforts and our investments in a more strategic way to be able to support not just our cohort and alumni, but also the broader ecosystem. We also seen some use case benefits from the social innovators themselves. They've been able to identify different types of resource hubs.
Thank you for sustaining the momentum of peer group F.
Sorry, I'm having
Congratulations.
a sound glitch.
Oh, it's fine. I think somebody had unmuted. You can proceed. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead. So we've seen some use case benefits as well, with the particularly from the social innovators themselves. They're able to really position themselves in the ecosystem and understand who else is operating within their sector, the role that they're playing intentionally or unintentionally in the ecosystem. What's very interesting is that we had some organizations that were actually resource hubs that a lot of other actors in the ecosystem were coming to, but they hadn't recognized their role as a resource hub or hadn't recognized their role as a convener within the ecosystem. So by being able to visually see where they sit in the ecosystem, the role they play and the services and the support that they're providing to other actors in the ecosystem, they were able to be more intentional about owning those roles in the first place. And then secondly, broadly, just being more intentional about the types of relationships that they build, who they were building those relationships with, which relationships needed to be strengthened, which relationships were strong, could be identified as strong and positive and highly impactful relationships, and the relationships, the areas where they needed to work on those relationships. So they also had the opportunity to be able to see the strength of those relationships, but also, more importantly, be intentional about how those relationships were being developed and who those relationships were being developed with, and what the intentions and the foreseeable impact of those efforts would be. So that's one. On the side of, I think, what I would refer to as the power stakeholders, those are I'm referring here to funders, investors, policymakers. I think that it gives it's given some of our partners who are on the map a broader ecosystem perspective of the social innovation space. And this is a sort of a visual beyond the lens of the individual organizations that are normally in their radar. So really looking at the social impact or social enterprise in a broader way, and understanding the different actors that perhaps they wouldn't normally have visibility of, and seeing spaces or places where they would be able to partner or invest or support or influence in meaningful ways. Identification of resource hubs was another important one for our power stakeholders, looking at how to direct resources towards resource hubs or more active ecosystem actors, conveners and influencers, so that then those resources could be spread from those hotspots to other actors within the ecosystem. And I think another thing that has come through for us at SII and SFF, and I think with a lot of other stakeholder partners, is having a glimpse of our own role as stakeholders in the ecosystem, and looking at the health of our relationships with the actors, the doers within the ecosystem, and really taking time to reflect and think about how we are engaging in the ecosystem, when we're in how strong or how healthy the relationships that we have with the actors in the ecosystem, and the things that we could do to improve those relationships in terms of not just in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the quality of those relationships and the impact that those interactions that we have on the ecosystem. The final piece, I think, in terms of benefits, is the opportunity for feedback and dialogue. And this has been a really helpful to us. Over and above being able to analyze the data from the map itself, we have the opportunity and the ability to send out actual surveys to the ecosystem actors. It can be either broadly across the entire ecosystem. In our cases, we've done a niche set of feedback rounds. And what we're finding is really getting feedback from the actors in the ecosystem about the strength of the relationships that they have, the ability to enhance those networks, what is missing from the ecosystem, how they could be better supported to build more fruitful relationships. And we can see from the net promoter ratings that we get out of the feedback that there's an opportunity for us to look at how we provide services, how we support networking and convening, and how we foster healthier relationships by the way we design and operate. I think those would be the main benefits I want to talk about. There's a whole list of them, but I think in the interest of time, we'll stop there. Like Liana said, there's going to be opportunity, I think, over time as Pando rolls out to have more in-depth conversations about the tool itself, about how actors on the map can use the data that is produced by the map to inform the way they engage in the ecosystem, and also how stakeholders can support those efforts and become growers of the ecosystem, positive growers of the ecosystem over time. So I'll stop there, and thank you, Liana, for giving me this opportunity to share. And I'm certainly, we are always going to be available, the Malawi team and myself, to support Rwanda as you roll out Pando throughout the year.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. This was really insightful and helped to have a deeper understanding of what it looks like. Because sometimes we are too abstract or too theoretical, but as we hear from people who really used it and experienced using it, it's always very it's an addition to our understanding on how we can definitely use it. So at SFF, we believe in co-creating and co-designing, and part of the conversation we want to have today is hearing from you all. And I'm looking at my fellows here in Rwanda, ecosystem players, champions. We want to hear your thoughts and insights, because this is not just an SFF tool, but we're interested in seeing you all using it and finding value in doing so. So we want to open the discussion for a few questions. As we said, this is just the start of this conversation. We're definitely going to be reaching out to you and to continue deepen up this conversation, see how we use it, how you all we collaborate, in using it, but also how we make it a tool that we own and learn from. Again, Maria is here, and we are all here to share or to answer to any questions that you might have. But we're also keen to hear your thoughts, from now, as of now. Sorry, and also the question for you as well is, how do you see Pando adding value to the Rwandan innovation ecosystem? What would you want to see Pando bringing into the ecosystem that is not there, that is missing? And I might start calling people and names, since I have had some of these conversations on the side before today. I know Alice, maybe I can put you on the spot from VPN. You had a question. If you don't mind, can you unmute and yourself and ask the question?
Yes, thank you, Liana. And hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. And especially, I really appreciate seeing so many entrepreneurs. I always love being surrounded by entrepreneurs, because we are here to serve you entrepreneurs, and we putting our efforts together just for you to strive and serve our communities. Thank you for the introduction of Pando. As you were presenting it, I definitely believe it will bring a lot of added value
to the Rwandan ecosystem, where there's not there. We have a lot of players, but the connections are not always very clear. So I see a lot of added value. Allow me to raise a few questions, less about the opportunity of knowing who is connected to whom, but more on the technical and applicability. So my first question would be privacy. Is there a way that this information, where is the limit in terms of privacy? Let's put it this way. And my second question is, how do you ensure to have accurate data? I can imagine that the value of the tool will be if it represents the ecosystem. So on one hand, it will request to be somehow complete or at least representative and also accurate. So how do you ensure both, and how do you motivate players to put their information in to feed the system? Yes, so those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Alexis, do you want to take on the questions? And Maria?
Sure, I'm happy to answer from the technical side. And then Maria, if you have a moment, I'd love to have you respond on your experience in Malawi. Actually, I know, Maria, you have to hop off in a few minutes. And so actually, why don't, if you're okay with it, let's go the opposite order. I'd love to have you respond based on your experience in Malawi, and then I'd be happy to answer from the technical perspective.
Thank you, Alexis. I think I'll start with the last question because that's the least technical one. I think that was the question around how do you motivate actors within the ecosystem to map. I think what we did in Malawi is we had a series of engagements similar to this, but really dedicated to Pando, and getting the actors themselves to understand the value, first of all, of the tool, and also the opportunity that it offers, not only in being visible and being able to show the relationships that they have, but the opportunity to identify other actors that could be relevant to their work that they may not have visibility of, or that they might not have access to, that they would be able to see on the map. So I think that was what created the momentum for us. I think we were also fortunate that we've had a number of years to build trust relationships within our core community, where we had already started in the physical, really stimulating network development, thinking about how we can bring social impact actors together and convening physically when it was still possible to convene physically, convening and engaging and really doing a lot of activities around creating connections within the ecosystem itself. So when the tool came, I think what was a little bit easy for us was that we had a lot of those relationships going on. So it wasn't difficult to get the initial community of within the ecosystem mapping. And once that initial community had started mapping and also inviting the people that they collaborate with to map on to come onto the map, I think that's when the map started growing. The important thing that we've learned along the way is that to have feedback and dialogue about the health of the ecosystem, what could be improved, what could be done better, so that people see the value, so that it's not just a tool like any other tool. It could be where we go on like a directory to find out who is there, but really like a live tool that produces analytics and data about the health of the ecosystem, hindrances to building productive and healthy relationships. Because I think one of the things that's important to emphasize is that it's not just about people being able to be visible on the map and to build relations or to make connections, but it's also about how healthy are those connections? On what specific areas of collaboration are we seeing more relationships? Where are we seeing less relationships? What could be driving those kinds of things? And then coming together and convening the community to say, we want to co-create some solutions that's going to make the ecosystem work together better. And we find that by doing that, it becomes a live and active tool for people to feel like, okay, there's value in me being on this, as opposed to I'm just visible, I'm just there, like having a profile on social media almost. So that's one of the things, but I will say this, it does take a lot of time. relationships are built on trust, they're built on value. So it's not going to be automatic that because there's a tool, therefore the relationships are suddenly going to move from whatever level they are to being the highest quality, most connected, most impactful, most beneficial relationship. But what it does is it gives us a vehicle and a point of departure from which we can then start having those engagements and conversations, and it gives us that visibility. So I think that's the important thing about the tool. In terms of data accuracy, I think a lot of it is, first of all, trust-based. And I think the way the system is structured, I think there are particular sections where there's certain data that needs to be inputted into the system. We don't ask for what I can call restricted data. So we're not going to ask about financials. We're not going to ask for any type of data that people would find sensitive. Any copyright sensitive type of information wouldn't be asked for. So by so doing, our assumption is that the basic data that we ask people for will be to a large extent accurate. So there's also a trust factor that comes into play. We assume that organizations will be truthful about who they are, the sectors in which they operate, will be truthful about the relationships they have with other organizations and the collaboration areas around which those relationships are based, which is really the basic information that Pando asks for. There's no sort of copyright or financial, any type of sensitive information that people may be tempted to either hold back or to falsify. So I think by the very construct of the data script, I think it allows people to be more open and more honest. I'll stop there and hand it over to Alexis.
Thank you, Maria. I'm so glad you went first. That was a really excellent response. And you covered so much of what I would share. So maybe picking up on the privacy aspect of the conversation, I'll share in the chat box our FAQs, including, and it'll go specifically to our compliance with GDPR, which is the European Union's regulations related to digital data privacy. So for example, if at any point you're uncomfortable with the information of yours that's being shared, you have the right to be forgotten and removed from the map. You have the ability to determine if your contact details are shared, for example, so that's something you opt in to. It's not done automatically. So there are a variety of measures that we're taking to ensure that people feel comfortable with their data that's being shared. And as Maria mentioned, we are typically asking for the type of information that would be available on an organizational website, for example. So the name of the contact, their work email address, the type of work that your organization does and where you're based. And it is a trust-based network, so you have to be invited in. The map is not publicly available, so unless you've received an email invitation to join the platform, you are not able to access the information. So the expectation is that only those that we trust are being invited into the platform to see and access the data. And we absolutely understand that it does take time to build that trust and to feel comfortable inputting data. We don't want to ask anyone to do anything they're uncomfortable with. And that's one reason that I know that Yvonne and Liana will be having one-on-one conversations with participants to answer these questions and address any areas of concern. And of course, the root change team is available for that as well. In terms of accuracy, I think Maria did such an excellent job of pointing out that this is a tool. So this is really meant to be a way to gather data to start a conversation. It's a way to gather data to enable the actors in the ecosystem to see who else is engaged in the similar type of work, or who else could be a resource for them as they look to grow their business, for example, or access funding and investment, access new markets, or connect with others doing similar work. And for those who are more, I think Maria was referring to them as like power stakeholders or actors that are providing things like funding or investment services to others in the ecosystem. This is a way for you to take a look at what are the dynamics of the system, who's connecting with who, what gaps exist that we might be able to address, one really excellent example from the Malawi map is we noticed there were relatively few connections around strategy development. And so that was a really good opportunity for us to have a conversation with the Malawi team, but also the broader Malawi ecosystem around, is strategy an area where there needs to be additional investment from SII, for example, or other actors within the ecosystem, or are there relatively few connections because this isn't a need? People don't feel that they need additional support around strategy, but there are other areas where they'd like to build connections. But so the purpose here was to gather some initial data that would then inform a larger conversation, but not necessarily to provide all of the information we need to make decisions. So we are using other sources of information like the feedback surveys that Maria mentioned to better inform our decisions about how to best support the ecosystem based on what we see. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. I know that was a long answer in response to that initial question, but thank you. That was a really good one.
Thank you, Alexis, and Maria, who probably has already left since she had another commitment at 4. And as we said, we'll continue to definitely have these conversations with everyone who's present today here in Rwanda, since we hope they'll be part of this, this journey. We have comments from Annette, who is a Hub Network Community Manager at Make IT GIZ. She said, real-time ecosystem mapping, this is really great. Excited for the impact Pando will bring for both entrepreneurs and ESOs and the accessibility of this data in real time for current and potential new players mapping the ecosystem. But she also had a question. So GIZ and the Kigali Innovation City have been putting together websites where, you know, I think there was definitely that demand of where do we get information when we come to Kigali, how do we know who is doing what? And they had put together that sort of like website where you could have like that kind of information. And they see maybe areas for, you know, partnership with Pando, for instance, to sort of like, because it's interactive and it's real data. It's not just like about information that is static, but it's, you know, Pando brings in another element that they didn't have. And she was asking if it's possible to plug into that other sort of like website or platform that was already existing, which is a technical question for you, Alexis. Is it something that you've ever explored? Do you think it's possible? Or because, you know, again, it's a matter of collaboration and partnerships that she's talking about.
That's a great question. And we had talked with the Rwanda team about that resource that's available. I think it's called Innovate Rwanda or Rwanda, yes. Sounds really exciting. And I spent some time poking around the website, really eager to collaborate with your team on that and build off of existing data. I'd love to have a conversation about what that could look like. Because Pando is, like I said, a password protected, trusted ecosystem, we are not able to input our data into other sources just for the compliance regulation, or like for the compliance with the regulations that we follow. But we would be really open to exploring if there are appropriate ways to start off with the data that already exists through Innovate Rwanda. So that could be a really exciting and interesting opportunity to explore, and would could potentially kick us off with an initial map to build off of. So let's talk more about what that could look like. I'd be really excited to explore that. And if nothing else, I would want to make sure that in future conversations hosted by either organization, that we're able to tap into both resources and draw on data and insights that come from both pieces of information, so that we can ensure that the information that entrepreneurs are providing is being well utilized to inform decision makers, and that we aren't asking people to duplicate efforts across platforms.
Great, thank you. We'll definitely follow up with Annette on this and see how the feasibility of that, but that sounds really, really exciting. Is there any other question, any other thought or insight anybody would want to share? I really like this session and how it's generating so much information about Pando and what it could possibly do here in Rwanda. If not, we're definitely here to continue the conversation as we said. But thank you all for your contribution and insights you shared. We really appreciate it, and we'll make sure to follow up with each one of you on next steps, how we'll have this engine start moving with all of us in it. And we hope that a year from now, we'll be looking at the map populated by data, which will keep helping us to do better in supporting and adding more value, each in our unique ways to the Rwandan innovation ecosystem. And we are coming to the end of our session today. And before, of course, we end, I would like to invite the SFF Executive Director, Andy Bryant, to give the closing remarks. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Liana. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, it's my great privilege to close the day with some brief remarks. Murakoze Chana, Santeni Sana, merci beaucoup. It's an honor to join this celebration. I'm excited to welcome the newest cohort of SII-Rwanda, or should we call it SII Great Lakes. Welcome to our Rwandan, our Burundian, our Congolese brothers, sisters, and champions. I want to give a big congratulations to these newly minted SII champions. You join a robust community that's about as ambitious as you are. Over the next 10 years, we at Siegel Family Foundation and the Social Impact Incubator seek to be the largest and most influential network of connected hubs like this one and change makers like you all across sub-Saharan Africa. We want to place local visionaries like yourselves at the center of national and regional development agendas, and you're going to be part of this continent-wide community. As my colleagues have so well described, Social Impact Incubator offers you all sorts of support, from community to capacity, capital, to cohort learning, to classroom learning, to connections of all types, connections to experts, connections to funders, connections to government, connections to friends, connections to all sorts of wonders. But I want to describe our value proposition for the Social Impact Incubator a little bit differently. I think the incubator offers you the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. Social Impact Incubator offers you the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. You'll stand on the shoulders of those that came before you. Social Impact Incubator started 9 years ago in Burundi, and we've since nurtured more than a dozen cohorts across 4 countries. It's been supported by funders from across the world. It's been written about, it's been documented on film, it's been evaluated by experts. But when we started a few years ago in Burundi, it was a simple notion. We found that there were a lot of small organizations trying to build something beautiful all by themselves. The past few years of bringing together cohorts of visionaries, we've begun to realize that one of the greatest benefits of the incubator is its ability to transform individual visionaries who are vulnerable into a community of strength. You'll stand on top of tools like Pando, technology and tools that can connect us and bring us together even as a pandemic threatens to tear us apart. You're going to stand on the very elegant shoulders of the SII team in Rwanda and the Siegel family team around the world. Each morning we wake up energized by your successes of yesterday, and we go to sleep dreaming of the impact you'll create in your communities tomorrow. And we spend the hours in between laser focused on supporting you with our brains, our budget, our sweat, sometimes even our tears. Most importantly, you'll stand on the shoulders of one another. You don't know it yet, but this group of 14 organizations and leaders in this cohort will become your greatest supporters over the course of the next year. I believe that when we come together in a year to celebrate your graduation, you, the champions, will have inextricable bonds that none of the rest of us, looking from the outside in, can possibly comprehend or understand. In closing, tubifurije ikaze, mu murongo wa SII kandi tubufurije, gukurikira itambwe za absurakuza turikumwe. We welcome you, SII champions, to climb on our shoulders so we can get started. Santeni sana, murakoze chana, merci beaucoup, thank you so much, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you for the great last words spoken in our mother tongue, one of the tongues of the Great Lakes region. So thank you so much. And we hope you have all enjoyed the day and our event and have enjoyed the reflections, great insights and views we've had throughout this afternoon. Our gratitude goes to our speakers of the day, Maria Mondira from Malawi, Alexis Banks, who is in New Jersey, from Root Change the Brain Behind Pando, our different interveners from the ecosystem players, and of course, our newly minted champions and stars of the day. Give yourselves a pat on the shoulder and say that you are amazing. Now, thank you all for gracing us with your presence. Now, a huge thanks to our very own Andy Bryant for always having the coolest speeches and for making it today and sharing our vision and excitement for this year's journey with SII. I cannot express enough what a marathon it has been to keep this event short, cute and sweet for the last hour and a half almost. And I would like to thank my colleagues, the super women, the royalties, my colleagues Leanna and Caroline, for leaving the anxiety and excitement throughout the last few weeks to make this event as exciting as it was. Well, I'm not done yet with you. Now, as is tradition at SFF, it wouldn't be an SFF event without fun involved. And we're taking this opportunity and moment to dance as we say, see you again soon, and make sure you break a leg, you have a drink, and use this moment to either network through the direct messaging of Zoom or unwind to the great vibes and sound of this music as we close down this virtual sundown. Thank you so much, everyone. It has been a great moment for me to host you today and see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Anjali, Anjalina, why you dey cooling my temperature? If you call, I go come deliver. I no go follow your hand never. Say na me you go love forever. I'm a cocky no fake leather. Oh my Anjali, Angelina, my Anjali, Angelina. Oh me order. Anytime I see you for the club or the television, your body. Say you know say that thing where you carry 50 kill somebody. You know I feel a vibe, you feel a vibe, so baby whine upon me. And I know you're shy, but it's true, and we're making love on the low, on the low, whoa, 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 on the low, on the low, whoa, 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 on the low, on the low, whoa, 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 on the low. Anjali, Angelina, why you dey cooling my temperature? If you call, I go come deliver. I no go follow your hand never. Say na me you go love forever. I'm a cocky no fake leather. Oh my Anjali, Angelina, my Anjali, Angelina. Hey, yeah, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 Joro. Keep it up, Tugi. Joro, ja, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 ja, Joro, 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 Joro. Keep it up, Tugi. Joro, ja, Joro. Dum consigo bamba manada me uno hey. Jom 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 con consigo bamba mani consigo hey. Jom 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 bum bing on sanja mame gonna enjoy hey. And 3, 2, 1, start.